In the 6th century, a local dispute didn't end in court. It ended in a field, triggering a cycle of retaliatory violence. This kin-based justice system operated outside of central control. It functioned on a single repeating logic, blood for blood, extracted by the family of the wronged. Around 602 AD, King Æthelberht of Kent issued the first law code ever written in a Germanic language to break this cycle. Understanding this text requires discarding modern ideas of justice. There is no moral philosophy here, no appeal to Christian mercy, and no theoretical jurisprudence. The early Anglo-Saxon state asserted a monopoly on violence by putting a strict taxable price tag on it. The surviving manuscript, the Textus Rofensis, preserves an alien clinical inventory of human injury. This text is a pragmatic arbitration ledger. It is designed to convert physical brutality into a series of mandatory financial transactions. These debts of flesh were settled in silver, using the scalingas and scitatas that drove the Kentish economy. This financialization forced warring families to view violence as a mathematical deficit. It stripped the emotion out of the grievance to make a settlement possible. Stripping away moral justifications reveals the true foundation of early English statecraft, the cold economic arbitration of human bodies. This graph represents the structural problem facing the king. In a fragile agrarian economy, human capital is the only relevant resource. A single localized murder triggers a cascading collapse of the agricultural workforce, as men are killed or drawn into multi-generational skirmishes. Families trapped in localized feuds cannot produce surplus wealth, pay their tribute, or wage external wars. The intervention was purely pragmatic. The crown's priority was preserving the taxable labor force. Æthelberht's challenge was engineering a system that halted this destruction without sparking a rebellion from independent, heavily armed families. To replace the blood feud, the state introduced Wergild, the literal man price. The Wergild functioned on a strict hierarchy, assigning a rigid silver value to every class of human life. At the peak, a king is priced at 30,000 thrimses, split between compensating the royal family and the people. Values drop exponentially as you descend. A nobleman is worth several times more than a freeman, while a slave commands only a fractional reimbursement for damaged property. This hierarchy turned murder into a mathematically predictable ruin, pricing most ordinary families out of the violence market. The code is equally clinical regarding non-lethal injuries, detailing a specific price for nearly every part of the body. This human wireframe illustrates the code's anatomical logic. It reads like a medical pricing matrix for specific physical damage. A blinded eye cost 50 sillingus. A knocked-out tooth cost 6. A severed thumb carries a massive penalty because it is vital for gripping a spear or steering a plow. This matrix of mutilation is a calculated assessment of a worker's physical capacity to generate wealth for the king. Enforcing this law required bringing heavily armed rival families into the suffocating, smoky interior of a royal hall. The victim and the offender were forced to confront each other across a table, while royal guards ensured the conversation remained financial. Trading this silver was the only way to balance the ledger of flesh and formally end the grievance. The king's authority operated in the background. Refusing the silver meant the state would sanction your destruction. Substituting economic submission for physical vengeance forced blood enemies to perform a regulated exchange of wealth. Beyond stopping the violence, the code served another vital purpose. It turned the legal system into a revenue stream. The state profited from every arbitration by collecting mandatory fines for any violation of the king's peace. Every violent act now carried two debts: a payment to the victim's family and a secondary, unavoidable tax to the king. The king's justice functioned as a highly lucrative state enterprise. This written code is the bedrock of the English legal system. It successfully shifted the burden of justice from chaotic kin groups to a structured, centralized state. Standardizing the response to violence meant stripping all emotion and concepts of fairness out of the equation. The earliest form of centralized authority was achieved through the cold, calculated